What's up, Weekend Warriors? The commish is back for Week 2 episode of the pod, the Week 2 predictions. I'll be honest with you guys. Man, if I seem a little sluggish on the last pod, it was a long day and traveling and doing this, that, and the other. I'm back in my house, my office. It's Wednesday night, and it just feels a little bit better. I'm a little bit more energetic. Just ready to hit it hard. But the commish, the content king, doesn't sleep, doesn't rest. For you guys, I had to get something out last week, so I apologize if I didn't have the same buzz that I normally do. But the boys are buzzing this week. I am buzzing. And even though I lost my first matchup against Chris, and we'll get into that here shortly, week 1 was a disaster. I'm just going to go out and say that. And to take a step back, week 1 for me, I'm like one of those artists that likes to look at the blank page and not draw, because as soon as you draw, you can't go back. It's like setting a dining room table before like Thanksgiving dinner. Everything's prim and proper, and as soon as you put one plate out or somebody dives in, like it's chaos, right? And you can't rewind. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. So I almost get, and this is just the sicko that I am, you guys know this, but I almost get anxious watching week 1. It's a tough week for me to watch just because, you build up all these hopes and expectations and narratives and realities in your head of how it's going to play out. And then the first 5 minutes and, your whole season is pretty much thrown upside down. Some more than others. But another thing I will say is, and I'm feeling a little philosophical tonight, but another thing I'll say is, there's been performances in week 1 where you think, the whole season is determined, and then, it's just a 1-week sample. I know Sammy Watkins back a couple years ago, multiple years, came out with 100 and a touchdown the first week, and then he stunk or got injured the rest of the season. Last year was Calvin Ridley. He had like 100 yards and 2 touchdowns by halftime. Everybody's like, if you were in on Ridley, you're going to win the championship. If you were out, you were wrong. And then he had an okay season, really kind of a tough season. So things are going to change. Nothing's written in stone. But, everybody gets that first taste of football in their mouth. And narratives are kind of starting to decide. People take victory laps. People, I'll use 2 more examples for this year of things that I saw. And I'm going to pick on Booty's team in a good way and in a bad way. Rashee Rice. I loved Rashee Rice this season. Coming in, he was a value. He comes out the first week and he validates everything you thought. 100 yards, looked good. Hopefully he can keep it up. And then on the other side, I'm in 4 leagues, 1 dynasty and 3 regular. This will and will always be my most important league. But I have Marvin Harrison Jr. in 2 out of the 4. Loved him. Kind of reached for him a little bit. Another player on Booty's team. 1 catch for 4 yards. Not involved. All these, reports now coming out that, Kyler saying it's not my job to give him the ball. Harrison said he had to get open better. The coaching there is a little suspect. They don't like to throw it to the outside. There are all these thinking dunks and stuff. So, if you could rewind, yeah, of course you would go later. Guys like Saquon might go 1 or 2 overall. Christian McCaffrey, sidebar, and if this is a long one, I'm sorry, but sidebar, my dad last year, 2nd overall pick, Justin Jefferson was unanimous number 1 last year. My dad had number 2. And my dad said, I'm taking Eckler. McCaffrey's always injured. I don't want to hold the bag and have an injured McCaffrey. And Eckler had a horrible season. He was injured, didn't finish in the top 24. He was bad, and Christian McCaffrey went on a streak where he scored like a touchdown in 15 games. Ironically, my dad gets the first pick this year. Christian McCaffrey, the unanimous number 1 pick. And now, all of a sudden, he's out. They thought he was fine, supposed to play. Mason was told he was going to play Friday. Kyle Shanahan says that's not true. The truth is probably somewhere in between. McCaffrey's a long shot to play now in week 2. Now, if there's only any silver lining, Mason, it looks like he's essentially McCaffrey. And my dad got him for essentially free with a $1 pickup last week to ensure McCaffrey. I'm like to look at myself as a sharp fantasy football guy, and I was like, don't get Mason. Don't waste a spot on him. McCaffrey's going to be fine. And, I guess this goes to show you if there's any little tiny news about somebody, you have to take it serious because this is what happens. So, the last thing I'll say about week one before I get into my recap and get into the next week's predictions is how many offenses look like total crap in week one. Atlanta, Kirk Cousins, he doesn't look healthy. Caleb Williams in Chicago. On the other side of the ball in that game, Will Levis was somehow maybe worse. Bryce Young is just horrendous. Daniel Jones, somehow worse. Deshaun Watson. I mean, these teams, if you look at week one, there were like 70 field goals, the most in week one in the last X amount of years, and the passing yardage was so far down. The scores in our league were so far down because people were starting these players and like for instance, the Bears had 95 passing yards. There's 3 potential starting wide receivers on that team. There's not you can't get a slice of pie big enough for any of those guys. So I think that, if you somehow played in week one and you had no injuries and all your players performed, I'm going to call you a liar because it was a crazy week and, we'll just move forward amicably. Listen, 1 week is a fluke. 2 weeks, what do they say, is a trend, and then 3 weeks is, I think 3 weeks is a trend. 2 weeks is a larger sample. Booty, second time shouting out to you tonight. You're some kind of scientist. You figure out the expression. But in any event, we'll get a larger sample. We'll get some, law of averages. We'll kind of see what happens. But week one, I went 1-1 in my NFL picks. I'll be honest with you. The under 47.5 hit by a half a point on Thursday night. Super close. The line changed, as the weather changed with some rain and the game getting, delayed or whatever. But cash it. The pod pick was 47.5. I had a wager on it. I know others did. It cashed by a half a point. And I had the Jets plus 4.5, and that lost. That was a Monday night pick. Now, I took it. I lost. I take my picks. I ride with you guys. Obviously, it's my own picks. But when the news broke about McCaffrey being out and the line changed from 4, because it was 4.5, it then went to 4, and then when McCaffrey was announced out, it went to 3.5. I was like, this is Niners win by a million. I had a chance to think about it more. I was like, Shanahan's going to outcoach Saleh, and then, all these guys that didn't play preseason, Cousins, Rodgers, these offenses didn't get a chance to play. Caleb Williams didn't play enough, or maybe even barely in the preseason. It's valuable, man. These guys are pretty much playing the preseason now. So I kind of was like, the Jets are going to get smoked. And, I thought it was going to be like a pick-em or a 1-point line when it moved. So in any event, 1-1. Not the worst. I've started in worse holes. So my fantasy picks, due for some regression. I had Dean over Terry. Terry took Dean down. Why do I doubt Terry? It's a losing battle every time. Otley over Kevin. Kevin won and was the high scorer of the week. Congratulations to Kevin. Clap it up, clap it up, clap it up, clap it up. Booty over Valone. That's the one I flipped on the pod and picked Booty live on the spot. That's 2-1 so far for those tracking at home. And I had, I'm sorry. I had Dean over Terry, Otley over Kevin. That's 0-2. Booty was 1-2. I had Jake over Brett. That cash. Brett was the lowest scorer of the week. We'll get to that. And then I had myself over Chris. Chris destroyed me. Stefon Diggs 2 touchdowns. Josh Allen 4 touchdowns. No, they don't play together anymore. Yes, he still destroyed me. So 2-3 in fantasy. 2-3 in fantasy on the year. And 1-1 in my NFL pick. So let's get to it. Fad pickups. Not anything super crazy. I think actually Booty got likely at a pretty good deal. I'll go back into it super quick here and see recent activity. He paid $24. I paid $33 in another league. A little surprised that Booty was the one to make the leap for him with him having Laporta, but trade bait and some underwhelming performances from MHJ and McLaurin and Olave. Maybe Booty's trying to bolster some flex plays there on his team. So other than that, Valone paid up for a quarterback in Baker after his big performance, and he put $5 in the Chargers D. Chris picking up Rashid Shaheed after his big week. And then, like I said, the best pickup so far was the $1 pickup from my dad last week. And then Kev sneakily got Jeff Wilson Jr. for free, and he has Achane. So good pickup there. So let's roll into the to the matchups this week. For my first matchup this week, I have Dean and Kevin. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of matchup of the week kind of candidates. I looked at this earlier. I looked at it again before this, and I'm really having a hard time. I could do a flip-flop here. But my dad, it's funny. Even without McCaffrey, if you put Mason in, he's a running back one if McCaffrey doesn't play. And he has James Conner and Kyron Williams. Those two playing against each other. Kyron had a tough week one, still scored. Against Arizona, he should feast. No Puka. He's going to be very, very involved. Stroud's as solid as they come. The Bears have a pretty good defense, but, he looked really, really good. Jameson Williams was a good, pick up or draft pick by my dad. He's the fourth wide receiver in the year. He had the fourth best week last year of any wide receiver. London and Pittman, I'm worried about. If Cousins isn't healthy, and Richardson, man, he's, going to complete 7 passes a game, and they're all downfield, and Pittman doesn't run downfield, so I am worried about him. And you should be worried about Mark Andrews, although I think read a lot of stuff about scheme and how he's always just bad against the Chiefs, and Steve Spagnuolo takes him out of the game, whatever. So my dad's team, despite the McCaffrey injury, I do think is pretty strong. Flip the script to Kevin, the highest score of the week last week. From a quarterback standpoint, loses Love, but has Purdy, pretty solid. And then Mixon. I have him on my dynasty team. I wasn't expecting that. He went off 30 carries. He could be a beast in this offense. Jeff Darnold looked very capable. That coach is phenomenal. And Kev has Kupp with no Puka. Kupp, he won me a fantasy championship. I have his jersey upstairs. I might be wearing it on another podcast, this year. But some weaknesses maybe. Flex between Swift and Zamir White. And then we said Achane is banged up, so we might have to throw Wilson in. I have written down my dad to win this. Kupp is going to eat against Arizona. He really, really is. Kev last week said something very negative, like F my predictions after I picked them to lose, and he was the highest score of the week. I'm doubling down. I'm going Dean. I think it's a statement game. It might have been matchup of the week because it's very, very close, but there's some other good matchups coming up here soon. I'm taking Dean to beat Kev. Kev, if you win, maybe you'll be the next Otley. You like when I pick you to lose. But with some of the question marks, I think Mixon comes back down to earth a little bit. But the Purdy and IU connection in Minnesota and this Kupp matchup could be scary. But then again, Connor and Kyron could score 4 touchdowns maybe in that game together. So I'm taking my dad. All right, next matchup, I have Terry and Chris. I got to be honest. Chris comes out, Allen 4 touchdowns against a terrible Arizona defense. Diggs had like 30 yards. He scored 2 touchdowns. He had Jaden Reed on his bench. It went off. He had Pollard in. He had a great game. Tyreek, 80-yard touchdown after he got arrested. That's just a whole nother story for another time. But Chris's team is good, but I think he might have peaked. He lost Puka. He's on IR. He throws in Jaden Reed. He had an amazing week 1, but now he got no quarterback. He's got Malik Willis. I actually may be better than Malik Willis. I don't know who would throw for more passing yards, me or Malik Willis. So now they're saying Love could play potentially. Don't worry, Chris also has Christian Watson. He's got a quarterback. No, but he did pick up Shaheed, so he's got options. But, Rashad White against a tough Detroit defense. Montgomery in that same matchup against Tampa Bay. Chris has a good team, but he's not going to have the matchups he had versus me every week. Terry, I said it earlier, why do you doubt him? And his team looks pretty strong. Aaron Jones, a little better than I thought. Taylor should be solid. Hurts looks good. And he also has A.J. Brown. When my dad was playing Terry, and if Hurts throws an 80-yard touchdown to A.J. Brown like he did, that's trouble for whoever's playing him. So I like both of these teams. I think it's going to be close. I'm done picking against Terry right now. The man just wins, and I think Chris falls a little bit back down to earth after some of the Puka injury news and some questionable starts this week. So I'm going with Terry over Chris. Next matchup, Otley and Valone. Almost matchup of the week. Another kind of rivalry brewing. We're in that group chat. Otley, asking Valone to make a pick in the suicide pool. Valone snaps back. He'll pick when he wants. He makes a pick. He picks the Bengals. They lose week 1. Little egg on your face there, Valone, I would say. I will admit, I don't understand the Honey Bijan Booty Bites name, but we're workshopping it here. But bum-fuzzled Snallygasters isn't much better either. So, look, Valone, he took Cousins. He's going to struggle at quarterback. He paid up for Mayfield, but obviously they're both quarterback 2s at best. Bijan, very encouraging to see him get the rock as much as he did, but tough matchup Monday night against the Eagles. And then, gotta like Mike Evans, gotta like Pitt's involvement. Way too many Falcons here, Valone. I don't know what you're doing. I think Kev did this last year, or maybe even the year before. It didn't work out for him. So a banged up Keenan Allen. Metcalf got bottled up. Another tough matchup against New England this week. Flip the script to Ott, dude. I didn't love Ramondre Stevenson. He's a workhorse. That team is going to go 1st and 10, 3-yard run for Ramondre. 2nd and 7, 3-yard run for Ramondre, and then Brissett's either going to scramble for 5 yards or throw a short pass, and they're just going to run it back. And that's what New England's going to do. And that's what they did to beat Cincinnati. So Barkley, you re-roll the draft today, he's probably a top 3 pick. Certainly isn't CMC. So, and then you have Mahomes and Kelsey connection. Amon-Ra. Otley, he's going to be great. He had a horrible week last week. He's a bounce-back candidate this week. I really like him this week in a shootout in Tampa Bay. So I'm taking Otley over Valone here in week 2. And then another potential matchup of the week, but I'm saving it. You know which one it's going to be. But it's Booty versus Brett. I got to admit, I really like Booty's team. After the draft, I said it. I like it a little less now. With MHJ, no matter what narrative you spin, he's not the same. We keep saying if you would redraft, what would it look like? He would go later. There's no question. Kenneth Walker looked great, but he's banged up. Olave, who I love Olave. I love him. He's on my dynasty team. 2 catches, and the Saints scored 50 points. I think there's better days to come. They didn't really need him, but still very concerning. And McLaurin, that's the one. Red alert, man. Jaden, he just runs for his life. Cliff Kingsbury, all he calls is screens. That one scares the heck out of me. So, Booty currently with the 2 tight end set with Likely and Laporta. So, he's changing up his starting lineup. And, Brett... Burrow and Chase coming out of the gate slow. They go to Kansas City. That defense is very difficult. Derrick Henry, he can get games scripted out. He won't at home against Vegas. He's going to have a good week this week. But when they're behind, it's scary. And then Brett throwing, Chuba Hubbard in that very vaunted Panthers offense that we saw last week. But Brett's without Mostert and still waiting for Jonathan Brooks to get back. So, maybe DJ Moore will have a better week. Debo and Devonta are very solid, but I'm not taking Brett until I see the Bengals look right. Joe Burrow doesn't look right. I'm taking Booty over Brett. So that brings me to the matchup of the week. Me versus my brother, the champ from last year. My brother still riding high. Said he beat the crap out of Brett and talking all this smack. And let's look at the standings here. He scored 107 points. Way to go, Jake. Ott scored more than you, and he lost. Come on. You had 3 guys score more than you. You kind of put up a little bit of a pedestrian week, but your team's pretty solid. I'll be honest with you. Pickens looks legit. Kamara looks like a steal. Pacheco and ETN, super, super solid. And then you got the ticking time bomb in Lamar. And, oh, by the way, CeeDee Lamb and Tank Dell. Jake has a very good team. I need to win this week very badly. You see the jersey I'm rocking, the Garrett Wilson. He looks so good the other night. He's always open. Rodgers, please throw him the ball. I think I had it was a weird week for me because I didn't have a good week. But I had a lot of encouraging signs of hopefully things to come. And I think that means I'm going to have a nice week against Jake. For example, Nico's a stud. Garrett, I just mentioned, is a stud, and I think that he'll do better when he's not playing the Niners, get Rodgers some reps. James Cook, Thursday night against Miami, he looked really good, but Allen stole all the touchdowns. Just give me one. I think Trey McBride will be good. And then I got flex options, dude. I mean, Ridley, a little scared about him with Levis, but Dobbins looked really good against the Panthers. Brian Robinson against the Giants. I mean, I got some decisions to make, which kind of stinks, but I also got Jalen Wright, rocket ship to the moon, Thursday night, but, it's a little iffy with some of the things there. But I think Neighbors might have a big game against Washington, potentially. I think Trey McBride, might have a bounce-back week. So I'll be honest, on paper, it's tough. I do like Jake's team a lot. I'm taking myself. And I think I'm going to come back. I can't go 0-2. The commish gets it done. Real quick, I'm running long. We had a lot to talk about for week 1, so apologies for the long one here today. But NFL picks, I'm feeling really good about these two, which probably means I'm going to go 0-2. But Buffalo, plus 2.5 is my pick. And money line, if you want. But the pick is 2.5. My thought process on this is, there's just certain teams, guys that beat certain teams. Like Mahomes, last year was a dog and winning these games. And Allen's like 10-2. I think it might be 10-3. Don't quote me. It's one of the two. He has 10 wins against Miami. Miami's always the little brother to big brother who the Bills are. And with some of these injury question marks in Miami, I just think Josh Allen gets it done. That's my gut feeling. I don't care about the spread. I'm taking Buffalo plus 2.5 on the road against Miami on Thursday night. And I also think that a lot of sharp bettors will probably bet Miami on that. I like that. I'm going a little oppo there. And then the other pick, you guys are going to laugh. And you say it's a homer pick. I'm taking Minnesota plus 6.5 at home. I know it was the Giants last week, and they blew the doors off them, and the Niners played a really good game against the Jets. But I just talked about how the Jets didn't have enough reps. The Niners, they didn't look that good. They kicked 6 field goals. The Jets gave the game away. Kevin O'Connell is an excellent coach. They might win this game outright. I think they keep it close. And Brock Purdy, he's good, but on the road, our defense is better than people think. I'm taking Minnesota plus 6.5. I also might sprinkle the money line on that. I really like that pick this week. Guys, I got my energy back. We're having fun. Week 2, I talked about week 1 being nervous. Week 2, we're here. We're in it, baby. So good luck to all you. I will have some special guests. One of them is going to be Mackenzie. She's sleeping right now, but she will have some picks. And week 3, week 4 is kind of a good time for a guest. I want to get back in the flow, recap the week, and kind of get rolling here. So Garrett Wilson, New Jersey, let's go. I'll be wearing it on Sunday. Commish out.